What's up, Radiant Icons, and welcome back to Dare to Be Iconic, the podcast made for icons daring to be themselves. I'm your host, Amanda Policelli, and for today's Tea Time Sesh, we are joined by a very special everyday icon, my girl, Katie from Race Tips. As you guys know, Katie is one of my closest friends and a long-standing partner of Dare to Be Iconic, so it has been long overdue to have this Tea Time Sesh. And Katie and I can yap. We can spill the tea. So you are definitely in for a treat today. But before I get into the piping hot tea that we will be spilling on today's Tea Time Sesh, make sure to secure your spot for Dare to Be Iconic's second masterclass, Daring to Be Confident, on April 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Tickets and all the information can be found in the show notes below. Now, let's get to the piping hot tea. For today's Tea Time Sesh, Katie and I are talking about confidence, resiliency, self love, pivoting, how you can be your own best friend, because that honestly is the longest relationship you will ever be in your life. So, you got to learn how to be your own best friend. And we spill the tea on that and so much more in today's Tea Time Sesh. I am so excited. So, are you ready, Radiant Icons? Because your Tea Time Sesh is starting now. Katie, it's been a long time coming. Welcome to Dare to Be Iconic.
Thank you. So happy to be here. I feel like we record a podcast every time we talk.
No,
So this is
absolutely.
been a long time
Absolutely.
coming.
We've progressed, we've now made it so people can hear our conversations, which I don't know if that's going to end up in our favor, but you know what?
We will see.
We will see. So, Katie, we are going to get into all the iconicness that you do a little bit later on into our tea time sesh, but we're going to start with some Dare to Be Iconic essentials. So, what does the word iconic mean to you, and how do you dare to be iconic in your everyday life?
Okay, so it's so funny because you and I say iconic all the time. And
I know,
I
we
catch
really
myself
do.
I catch myself leaving comments on Instagrams like you do, so iconic. And I'm like, oh my God, Amanda would be proud.
Oh my God, that's the best compliment I could ever hear in my life.
But when I really sat with myself and
Yeah.
thought about it, to me, iconic is kind of a combination of it's timeless,
Mhm.
it's bold, it's revolutionary, but it is also classic and
Oh, I love that.
um
Revolutionary. Okay.
revolutionary. Yeah.
Revolutionary. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then let's think. Okay, so being iconic in my everyday life and
Yes,
in everyone's everyday life, I
exactly.
think is truly just being exactly who you are and not giving a care about what anyone else thinks about you and just walking with that confidence in life. Because if you have
Yeah.
the confidence, you're iconic.
Point blank and period. Katie, okay, slay. I couldn't say it better myself. It's almost like daring to beat yourself,
Exactly.
sounds so
Hmm.
familiar. Uh, so, for the Radiant Icons who don't know, Katie and I are very, very close friends, and we bonded over our love for F1. Katie is the founder of Race Tips. Race Tips is literally the most iconic brand out there. Fast and easy manicures for the fast car fans. And so I think both of us, being small business owners, it's sometimes hard, or at least I think so, in this concept of trusting that you are exactly where you are meant to be. And so I wanted to kind of ask you, how has trusting that concept, right, kind of helped guide you through the tough moments, whether it's you being a female entrepreneur or just being Katie living her most iconic life?
Okay, so when it comes to trusting and knowing that you're exactly where you need to be, I'll kind of talk about it maybe a little bit more in my personal life first and then kind
Yeah,
of get it back to the entrepreneur in me. But
point blank and period.
yes, I think it's really accepting that everything happens for a reason and that there's a reason you're in the place that you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something I've accepted and then I've had to accept many times throughout my life. I think that's something
Yeah.
that you will face your whole entire life, and you never quite know when you might be faced with like, oh, I
Yep.
gotta remind myself like we're
Yep.
here for a reason. It's gonna be
Exactly.
okay. And I think the other part of it too is like when maybe something doesn't go right, or maybe you feel lost, or life is just hard right now, it's reminding yourself of all the good things that are in your
Yeah.
life.
That's so
And
important. Yes.
exactly, like I have a roof over my head, I have loving friends, I have food in the refrigerator, I have a bed to sleep in. But then also, like, I have a killer business, I have a passion for this. And so reminding yourself of all the positive things and all the good things you have going for yourself. And then I think like the other big part of it is knowing that you can change direction at any time. And I think a lot of
Yes.
people, yeah,
Absolutely, Katie. Absolutely. Yes.
exactly. And I think a lot of people forget that we are in control of our lives and
Point blank.
we are the universe perceiving itself. If you're unhappy, you can change that. Is it might be,
Exactly.
yeah, and it could be moving to a new place, it could be saying goodbye to a certain friend, changing careers. Maybe it's like actually just making more time for your hobbies, or it's as simple as giving yourself time to sit with yourself. I know we're probably going to talk about Katie nights later, but like
Oh my
having
god.
yourself,
Obviously, I stole that from you. Duh.
yeah, having yourself a Katie night. And I think in the lens of being an entrepreneur, being a small business owner, you know, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to, I always say, like, fail fast and learn and
Yeah.
then pivot. And I think the whole point of being an entrepreneur, like how one calls themselves as an entrepreneur, is being able to iterate and figuring out, taking time, analyzing what's going right, what's going wrong, what can I improve on, what are my strengths, opportunities, and then what can I do to improve and iterate on that. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. That's what iterating is you're trying something. If it doesn't work, you pivot, you try something new. And as you do that in life, you also do that in business. And so having
Exactly.
kind of that mindset of like we're literally just iterating all the time and nothing's
No,
wrong.
like, literally, like, I had a friend tell me that her keyword in entrepreneurship is pivoting. Like, you have to be comfortable with pivoting. You are going to fail big, you're going to fail fast, like you said, like, but you need to know when it's time to pivot. You need to be able to have that self-reflection, and I think that goes back to what you had mentioned, which is being in control of your own destiny. So, what are some steps that you took to make sure you were on the right path for yourself?
I think I knew I was in control of my own destiny before I knew I was, and
Okay, slay.
I can explain that
Okay, slay.
clearer.
I love
But
that.
the but the idea of like subconsciously, like I knew I was in charge,
Mhm.
but I didn't necessarily bring that into consciousness until I think I got older. And I think that is probably what
Mm.
happens with a lot of us is
Yeah.
if you think back, like in high school and before that, like we're living with our parents, they're kind of still guiding maybe where we're going or how, I don't know, how we're behaving or what we're allowed to do and maybe what we're not allowed to do. And then you get to college and there's so many external
Yes, oh my gosh. I'm so
influences.
glad you mentioned that. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Whether it's new friends, whether it's you're living in a new place, you're finding new hobbies, maybe you're drinking for the first
Yeah,
time,
maybe you're in
or
relationships for the
rel-
first time, like, you weren't allowed
yes.
to date, like, all these things, you know? Mhm.
And I think like it can be scary because it's like, oh my God, you have all this freedom all at once. And you feel
Yes.
that then, like, whether it's you're graduating from college or maybe you're moving away from home, whatever your journey is, like, then you're like, oh my God, I always call it, I'm a big girl now. Like, I have to
No, like,
find
literally.
I have to find like a
Literally.
big girl job
Oh my god,
and
I
a,
know.
and a big girl apartment. And
Mhm.
part of it too is like, oh my gosh, I can be and choose and do whatever I want to do now. Like, okay, now I'm like
Exactly.
really, it's me. I've got it. I can decide.
Like, I really am the adult in the room now, and that's, like,
I,
so scary. Yeah.
yeah, it's so scary. And also, again, like, so now we're here and we're like, I can't believe how many years I'm actually out of college now. It
Feel
doesn't feel like
real?
I should be allowed to be this
No.
old.
Yeah, no, I ooh, retweet on that.
Yes.
Retweet on that. Sometimes I still
And
think I'm 19, but,
yeah,
that's another story.
yeah. I said to you earlier, this is a tangent, but I said to you a couple weeks ago when George Russell posted, he's like 27,
Oh my god,
the
I
happy
know.
birthday post. And I
I
was like,
know.
I was like, oh my God,
I
I'm
know.
about to be 27. Like George Russell and I are the same age. And like
I know. It's, like,
it's
such a mind, like
it's a mind boggle. Yeah. So and then I don't know, I'll get kind of back maybe to answering your
no,
first
you're all
your
good. You're
question. But I think once you realize that you have control of your life, it's really thinking about what you want your life to look like.
Mhm.
And I think in the past year or so, a couple of my friends and I have had this conversation about, feeling lost or not knowing what they
Yes.
want or where they're going. And I feel like I've always been like a little ahead of the curve. And so, like, I've like, oh yeah, well, I was there a little bit ago, and let me
Yeah,
tell you how I got out of it.
exactly.
And it's something I'm still working on now because it's not an easy thing to do, but listing out all the things I want in my life. And I'm not talking about like harsh goals. I'm like talking about the littlest things to the biggest things. Like one
Yeah,
thing
more
on
like
my
a
list,
free flowing.
exactly.
Mhm.
We're iterating on this list.
Point blank and period.
And like one of the things on my list is like I want a bathtub. I want a big bathtub
Okay,
in
wait, I love that for you.
the house that I have one day. And like so like it's the tiniest little thing on that list. But then there's like huge things like I want to get married and have 2 kids with my boyfriend. Like I want to go on a Southeast Asia trip. Like I want to learn how to surf better. I would love to climb a mountain. And so like it's the tiniest little things all the way up to like the biggest things. And
Yeah,
again, this reminder of like it can change over time. Like I've scratched things off the list. I'm like, well, I thought I wanted to do that. I know I don't want to do that. And yeah, so again, just kind of like you can't just kind of keep going. Like you gotta figure out where you want to go. You gotta have a
yeah.
little bit of a direction, but not being too hard on yourself either.
And I think that is rooted all in confident decision making, And I think when it comes to like choosing the right path for you, yes, it is small actions building up that momentum, but that doesn't take away how daunting it is. It doesn't take away how scary it is. So, what has helped you be confident in your decision making skills when it comes to that? And I'm taking notes for myself. So
Yes,
if you wanna, like, share, that'd be great.
I will lay it on thick.
Period.
I think everyone always says it, but it's like fake it till you make it. But like that is
Oh,
so
yes, I
true.
live by that. I
Like
live by that, yes.
you have to fake it till you make it, and like whatever you tell yourself, like you are. Like if you want to be a bad bitch, like you're a bad bitch. If you want to be a girl boss, you're a girl boss. If you want
Point
to
blank
be
and
a
period,
a
yes.
mom, be a mom. Like it's whoever you tell yourself is who you can be. And so keeping that in mind, but I also think that I'm confident in my decisions because I know I'm grounded in what I mentioned earlier of like I can always change.
Yeah,
And I think often again like a lot of us keep ourselves from being confident or like making quick decisions because we're like, "Oh my god, this could change my life and it could never go back." And
yes, it's like the fear of the unknown is really
yeah,
debilitating, you know?
exactly. And I'm like, "Okay, like we can just return back to square one." And
Mhm.
I think a lot of people think returning to like ground zero is failure.
I was
And
literally just thinking that, Katie. Oh my
it's
god.
not. It's
Yes,
it's
yes,
ab
thank you. Mhm.
it is absolutely not. It is I look at it as like, okay, I get to start fresh. Like this, whether
Yes.
it's like, I don't know, like you're working on a work presentation and they're like, oh, this isn't going the right way, or you move somewhere, or I don't know, you dye your hair pink. Like
Yeah. Start
you can
from
go
the
back,
beginning.
you can go
Mhm.
back. And like that's a whole new opportunity to like start fresh, recreate. Like that presentation could look nothing like it did the first time, but
Exactly.
you've got that freedom to make it now whatever you want it to be.
Exactly, exactly, and it's rooted in that mindset shift of seeing it in that positive lens, which I think goes back to what you mentioned, like, way earlier on in our tea time sesh, which is rooting it in that gratitude, rooting it in that positivity, and allowing yourself to literally just embody that and see that in every avenue and every door that opens for you in your life.
Exactly. And I think one thing I've also had a lot of conversations with my friends about in the last couple of years too. And like a little over a year ago, I moved to New York and I
Mhm.
thought I was probably maybe always going to one day find myself here, but I
Yeah.
wasn't sure when. And, I think it's this idea of like, oh, do we move? Do we not move? Like it was a big conversation that I had, with my boyfriend, with my partner. And I often go I often refer to this idea of like you can leave your hometown, which Chicago was his hometown,
Okay.
go to a different city. If you don't like it, you can always move home. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with moving home, but in 10 years from now, if you had never moved to New York, you can't be like, "Oh, yeah, like wow, I really wish I would have just moved to New
Yeah,
York."
because
Like,
then you would have never known what could have happened. Like that could have been the step for you to change your entire life and like live that life that you've always wanted.
right. And again, you're not stepping back. You're actually like gaining yourself time of not wasting all that time thinking about what if. Like just go do it. Like be
Exactly.
confident. And I it's like even in the worst scenarios you're learning something.
Oh yeah,
And
no. Yep.
like
Retweet that.
you might
Retweet. The actual
you might
foundation of Dare to Be Iconic? What?
you might not think you're learning anything, you're like, "Yeah, I've got this bad manager," and my mom
Yeah.
has always said, like, "It's not a bad manager, it's a manager that's teaching you how you don't wanna manage people."
Okay, wait. Mama Katie knows what's
Really.
up.
She yeah,
Period.
she
An icon.
she's been around the block. She knows what's up. So, yeah, I just
Oh
think,
my
like,
god.
yeah, it's okay, like, to experiment, be confident, and also be confident in saying, "That did not work. Let's
Mhm.
start over." And no matter what, you've learned something about yourself or about the situation or about the world that you didn't know before you tried, and you were just confident.
Yes, yes, and it's, like, all with trusting that process that you are exactly where you are supposed to be, and I think this just beautifully segues into Katie nights because it's you owning
Yes.
your power, right? When you are confident in your decision making and you're confident in trusting the process of everything that is going on, and it's creating some time for you. And so I've stolen this from you quite a bit, Katie. I've made my Amanda nights. I had one yesterday, actually. It was beautiful. So for the Radiant Icons who are like, what the heck is a Katie night? What is a Katie night? What does your typical Katie night look like? And what are your tips and tricks on how they can make their own iconic night for themselves?
Absolutely. So if I'm explaining a dream Katie night to you, and
Oh,
not every Katie night,
yes.
not
Paint
every
that
Katie night,
picture.
yeah, not every Katie night looks like this. Sometimes you just got to take one or two pieces
Exactly. Exactly.
of the dream Katie night. But it would be I go to a yoga class.
Okay.
I get all the tension out of my body. I'm like stretching myself out. I'm clearing my mind. I'm reminding
Love it.
myself how powerful I am. And then I'm coming home and I'm getting in the bubble bath with a snack, usually my iPad to like watch a movie
Or
or a
read
TV
Fourth
show
Wing,
or read Fourth Wing. Yeah, you know me well.
I know you
Uh,
so well.
you know me too well. Uh, and then a journal and a pen, just because like you never know when your
As you
night's gonna be
should.
finish right.
Exactly. Oh,
And then
yes.
it's usually like hair mask, face mask, we're bubble bathing. If I've got the energy, maybe we're shaving our legs, maybe we're not.
Oof.
It's like,
Yeah, that's always one that's like, I don't know if I wanna put that on the list because that's actually work. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
but
Like
sometimes you're like, oh, I just need like a reset.
exactly. I need to
Sometimes you
wash my
need that.
hair, shave my legs. Yeah.
Yep, you need a everything shower. You
Oh,
just
I love a good
sometimes you need
everything
that.
shower. Yeah. Yeah.
And when John first met me, my boyfriend, he was like,
Yeah.
everything all at once. Like, you can't just do like one thing. And I'm like, no, I
No,
can't.
that's
Like,
not how our brains work as small business owners.
no.
Absolutely not. Have you
And
met
so like
us?
how
Like
right. And so half the time I'm not even like watching the TV show or the movie I put
yeah.
on because I'm like sitting in my thoughts. I really just need like sound in the background. Like
Yeah,
this
no,
side
you
of the
need that,
brain
like,
has
white noise, you know?
yeah, this side of the
Mhm.
brain has to be distracted so this side of the brain can like
Do what
actually
it
like
needs to do.
do
Yeah.
do what it needs to do. And most of that is like sitting with myself and
Yeah,
thinking about, how did this week go? How do I want next week to go? It's almost
yes.
like to relate it to like work. We all have like performance meetings or like
Oh, yeah, like,
review.
performance evaluations.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like, okay, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? This is what you've been doing well. This is what you've not maybe been doing so well, but it's something you can work on.
Mhm.
And again, it's just like it's a check in, and I'm sure you'll probably hear me say this a few more times in this episode, but like just sitting. First of all, I'll say this: allowing yourself to feel the emotions you feel. I feel like a lot of times we don't let
Preach it.
ourselves
Yes.
feel what
You
we want
have
to
to
feel.
feel everything. Yes.
Everything. And it's hard. It's horrible sometimes.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not easy. I'd rather not, but, like, it's literally so vital in order for you to, like, truly, like, live your most iconic life. Like, you just have to, you know?
right. And like sitting in that anger that you might have, or that sadness, or frustration, or even in the good emotions, the
Yeah.
happiness, the inspired,
The
like
joy,
the joy.
exactly.
That's like part one is just like, okay, let me just like sit in these. And then which is again, all hard to begin with. But then like the next hardest thing is like, why do I feel this
That
way?
self-awareness, that's always a tricky part. Yeah, no one likes that or, like, holding yourself accountable for maybe, like, what like, if you are angry, if you are sad, right, and there's something that happened, like, is there a part of it of, like, that you can hold responsibility for, you know? Like, if it was a
Absolutely.
friendship breakup, a romantic breakup, like, what was your part in it? Like, no one wants to own up to it, but, like, sometimes we have to, you know?
Right.
Not even sometimes, we just
Absolutely.
have to.
You just have to. And like giving yourself grace. I think
Oof,
something you and
yes.
I have also chatted about a lot
Literally
is
everything under the sun.
yes,
Yes, yes.
is this idea of I am my own best friend. And when
Yes.
people are like, "Oh, who's your best friend?" and I say, "Oh, myself," like sometimes they look at me and they're like,
Yeah, they're like, "Who? What?"
okay, you like conceited lady,
Yeah,
like, what do you mean? And I'm like, okay, well, like, let me break it down for you. Like,
exactly,
you have to spend the rest of your life with yourself.
exactly. That is the longest long-term relationship you genuinely will ever be in your life.
And if you don't like her or him or whoever, like, if you don't like yourself, like, how can others like you? And I think maybe people are like, oh my God, I don't know how to be my best friend. Like,
Yeah,
you
like,
got to
what are the
figure out,
steps?
yeah. Okay, here we go. You ready? You got to
I'm
figure out what
ready.
you like and what you don't like.
Period.
That's like the first thing.
Period.
Like, if you don't
Period.
like doing something, don't do it.
Mhm. Exactly.
And
Take notes of it, Be
take
like, "I'm
notes.
never doing
Yeah.
that again. Never in my
Never,
life."
never doing that again. I think the other part is spending time with yourself alone,
Yes, like,
sitting.
literally just being by yourself and having solo dates?
Yeah. Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Like I used to take myself to the movies once a week.
I love that for you.
Like find what you love and do
Mhm.
it and challenge yourself to do it by yourself. Maybe the first time, you bring a friend. but then like you've got to take yourself and you've
Yeah,
got to be okay and be confident being alone. And like I was alone for a long time, and I'm not saying like alone, like I had my friends, I had my family, I had my work community, like I had people around me.
yeah.
And not to get too therapist on all of you, but there are
Um,
four.
don't worry, the radiant icons are used to it. I cry, like, literally every single episode, Katie. We all know this. It's okay. It's
Good.
okay.
Okay. Good. So, if you don't know, there are four kinds of loneliness. There's like three, and then like the fourth one is like the like we've now entered the lower levels of therapy, and like I'm giving you one of the keys to life.
Really? Okay.
So, the one of them is friends and family. Like if
Yeah, okay.
lonely if you don't have friends and family. The second one is community, whether that's like
Makes
work
sense.
community, one community, whatever it might be.
Radiant icon
Need an icon.
community.
Yes, thank you. The third one is romantic
Okay.
connection. And then the fourth one, which is like the key, is yourself. And so,
Oh,
yeah, like, and
I
again,
had
that's like,
no
again,
idea about that.
one of the hidden prophecies, I guess, of therapy is like
I love that.
you can feel full in those first three ones, but if you don't feel full in yourself, and whether that's as your best friend or as like, oh, we're acquaintances and we're working our way to best friends, like you've got to be okay being by yourself and being good with you and not feeling lonely. Because if imagine if you didn't have any of those four, oh my goodness,
Exactly.
that would be so hard. And like I've been there, like, and those four can change throughout life. Like I was alone for a long time by myself. I was learning to feel good in myself, my community, my friends, my family. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, why do I still feel lonely? I'm like, oh, well, it might be time to like put yourself out there again. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. And then I met the love of my life. And like, I think that happened because I was so good in those other three areas. Like, you got to be so good with yourself before you give yourself to anyone else, whether that's romantically, whether that's
Platonically,
creatively,
exactly.
platonically, even like giving my business part of myself. Like, I got to be good here
Yes.
before I give there.
Oh, I have no words other than everything just like clicks when you say that because it's so true. Like you can feel so fulfilled with being your own best friend or having your family around you or having your friendships. But like in my case, right? I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that I am saying this, but like currently, obviously, there's no romantic prospects. And I'm not putting myself out there for that because just for me, like that is not something I want to do. And like there is a part of me, oh wow, I've never spoken about this before, but there is a part of me that does feel a little bit lonely in that aspect when I see everyone like with their partner or like talking about love in that way. Like I think that's so beautiful and I would love to experience falling in love again. But I know at this point it's not something for me right now, but it doesn't take away the loneliness that I feel in that category of my life, even though I'm fulfilled in all the other areas, you know?
Yeah. And it's hard, and like knowing when you're ready, when you're not ready, like it's scary. So and there's
Yeah.
no rush either. Like there's plenty of time.
I know,
Also
I'm still getting
enjoy.
hotter by the minute. No, I'm
Yeah.
just
No, no, you are. As you get older, you get hotter. Like
thank
you're more
you.
mature. You know what's right from wrong.
Exactly. Exactly.
One thing I missed about being your best friend, which
Tell me.
I want to make sure I get this in, because when I said it to
Spill
John, he
that
was like,
tea.
"Whoa." Um, and I mentioned it earlier, but like I've been giving myself a lot more grace and patience, and I think that's
Mm.
like, as you get older, you just like you're more calm, you're chiller, maybe for lack of a better word.
You're
Like,
more willing to do that for yourself.
yes,
Mhm.
I know a lot of women deal with insecurity, like self insecurity, and I think part of being your best friend is really just being kind to yourself and thinking about how maybe some of the things you say to yourself, would you ever say that to your best friend?
Yeah, oh my god, period. That's, like, one of my biggest, like, confidence tips is think about, like, would you ever say this to your best friend?
Right.
If you
Or
wouldn't, do not say that to yourself because
right.
you are your best friend too, you know?
Absolutely. Or even like, your daughter. Like, think about your future daughter. Like, would you
Yes.
ever say that
Or would you
to
ever want her to think that about herself?
exactly. And,
Mhm.
there is so much, we got so much stuff to do. Us women, like, we are busy. We
Yeah.
are holding down the fort on
We
in a
really
lot
just
of
run the
areas.
world,
We
like,
we
that's
run
just
the
it.
world.
We
a-
basically run
And
it.
life is too short to stand in the mirror and pick yourself apart.
Mhm.
Like, look at yourself in the mirror, let yourself know you are beautiful because you are inside and out. And then, like, we gotta go because we got stuff to do. Like, we
Exactly. We have
gotta,
businesses to build, we have money
right.
to make, we have,
We gotta start a
I for
revolution,
exactly,
So,
thank
like,
you. I forgot my 3rd thing in there. I love threes, as you can tell.
yes. Like, we don't have time to be tearing ourselves, and here's my plug too, or others,
Oof,
specifically women, down. We don't have
exactly. We
time.
are all
We
here to empower each other. That's how
absolutely.
we build revolutions. That's how we break barriers. That's how we shift the narrative, you know?
Men tear us down like it is their job.
Exactly. Like the world loves to hate women. I'm like honestly so like firm in that belief. You
The
know, why
last
are we going to turn on each other?
right. Yeah, exactly. The last thing we have time for is us being mean to each other. Like,
Mhm.
let's move on.
Exactly. Let's move on because
Let's
that's
move
why
on.
female friendships are so important.
Absolutely.
So, that goes into my last question for you, Katie. If you could go back in time and tell Katie from when she first started her business, Rice Tips, the best manicure brand out there, go check it out in my show
Yeah.
notes. Thank you so much. What would you tell her?
Ooh. Hmm. I think something I would tell myself maybe a little earlier than starting race tips. I don't know.
Okay, I'm down for
Yeah, I
it.
don't know.
Wherever I
Let's
didn't know an exact period because
yeah.
usually for me in my life, I always go, "What would you tell 19-year-old Amanda?" Because that's when really like
Yeah.
shit hit the fan for me. But whatever
Mhm.
time in your life that was like so pivotal where you saw that transformation, what would you tell her?
Ooh. I think something that I've always been pretty good at. I think everyone has like a superpower,
Yes.
whether you know what your superpower is or not,
Mhm.
is my ability to like just be chill about things. Like, everything's fine.
I'm so like that is the most admirable trait about you. I think like when
Thank you.
we first became friends, I was like, "Damn, this girl is so cool. She's so
Thank you.
chill." Like,
Yeah.
yes, I love that you
Like,
said that.
there's no need to stress. And I think as I've gotten older, I've become even more chill. And so if I could tell my younger self something, it would be maybe to embrace that faster or earlier.
Like
Because
lean
I
into
think,
it more.
yeah, like lean into it. Because I feel like maybe when I was a little younger, like maybe this is more like college, early adult. I think, you're comparing yourself to others. It was also COVID. And so like things were weird then
A
too, but
weird time, like a weird time where
weird.
mhm.
But it's like, it's gonna be fine. Like, everything's cool. It's gonna be chill. Embrace that. And like, I think I wish I would have owned that as my superpower earlier in life.
Mhm.
That's a good way to kind of phrase it. Because yeah, it's all gonna be fine. And if it's not, I'm sure it's going to be in at least some way. Or you've learned something about yourself, again, the universe. You figured it out.
What is your iconic insight for the Radiant Icon community?
Loving yourself more. Like, think
Ooh,
about how much you love Lando
yes.
Norris, or think
Stop.
about how
Don't
much
call
I
me
love
out.
Lewis Hamilton. No, I'm serious for a second.
Okay, period. I'm locked in.
You better love yourself more than you love them.
I do. I do love
Okay.
myself more than
I
I
know
love
you
Lando
do.
Norris.
But, think about the things you love in life, and like, you better love yourself more than you love them. So,
Kitty, this was such a good tea time sesh. I am so happy that you came on Dare to Be Iconic. It was about time. I'm so grateful to have you in my life and for our friendship. And I still look back at that DM I sent you about the Spanish Grand Prix. Yeah, I took a screenshot
Oh
of it.
my gosh.
I sounded so weird in it. I was like,
No,
"Hi,
you didn't.
Katie. I would see if you would want to do a partnership. I'm going to Spanish Grand Prix, and these are my engagement rates. I would love to chat."
And I'm pretty sure I have no idea what I said, but I'm pretty sure
You
you're
said
like, "Yeah,
yes.
absolutely."
I just like look at it and I laugh because I'm like, oh my God, to see how it started to now where we are now, it's like
I know.
so, oh my God, but I'm so grateful for you and for our friendship. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
I'm
so thank
I'm
you.
so grateful for you, and I think back to our first call when we, like, got on the phone, and
Oh
I
my
think we
God,
talked for, like,
yes.
3 hours, and we were like, "Oh, well,
Absolutely. We definitely
it
talked
just"
more.
yeah, it just feels like we knew each other from the beginning, and yeah. Shoot your
I
shot. Shoot
I
your
remember that.
shot
No,
because you might find
period.
a best friend.
Period. No, genuinely, genuinely, because I don't if I didn't reach out to Katie, I don't know how our paths would have crossed. I feel like
Yeah,
eventually we would have because we're both in that F1 and we're in our own small businesses, but
yeah.
no, it's kind of weird to think like it literally was just me shooting a shot. And I was so scared. I've never told you this, so I'm gonna say it now on air. I was so scared to DM you. I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, like I hope she doesn't think I'm I was like
No, that's
talking myself out of it.
crazy.
But it was the best DM I've ever sent in my entire life. So
Well,
I got the best friendship of my life. So thank you.
to you and to whoever else is listening, like, you can shoot your shot with me anytime you want.
Period. Katie said, slide into my
I
DMs.
said, slide into my DMs. Like, oh, you want to share race tips? Absolutely. You want to talk
Period.
F1? Absolutely. Like,
Absolutely.
shoot your shot. And that can be, again, not just with me, shoot your shot with anyone. You never
Yeah,
know what you're going to get
exactly.
from it. What's
Yeah.
the worst that happens? They say no, they don't
Ex-
respond.
Literally, my dad says that all the time. They say
Yeah.
no, okay, and that's their loss, period.
Yeah.
So if you ever need someone to shoot your shot with, slide into Katie and I's DMs. Period. All right, Radiant Icons, that is your tea time sesh for today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, make sure to subscribe, to leave a comment, to leave a review, to tell your friends about us, to tell everyone and anyone because we love more Radiant Icons in our iconic community of ours. Thank you so much, Katie, for coming on Dare to Be Iconic and being just a Dare to Be Iconic supporter, a long term partner. I am so incredibly grateful for your friendship, Katie. And I just want to say, on top of this, Radiant Icons, you really never know what's going to happen unless you believe in yourself and shoot your shot. Because Katie and I would have never crossed paths if it wasn't for me sliding into her DMs and shooting my shot for a collaboration. And that one DM changed my entire life and brought me such an iconic friendship. And I am just so incredibly grateful for her friendship, and the chance that I took on myself to just go for what I wanted. So, I hope this episode was your extra dose of inspiration to go after what you want. And if it means sliding into the DMs, slide into those DMs, Radiant Icons. But anyway, I will chat with you all next week for a very, very exciting tea time sesh. I can't believe I am saying this. A dream come true. But my favorite Formula One romance author, Carly Robin, is coming on the Dare to Be Iconic podcast. Wow, I just got chills. Oh my God. You guys are in for a treat. Carly and I spilled the tea about confidence, being a woman in a male dominated sports space, and writing your own story. You definitely do not want to miss next week's Tea Time Sesh. So make sure to subscribe. I will talk to you guys next week. Remember, Radiant Icons, dare to be iconic. Bye.